Squid Game has all kind of baddies, from crazy player 44 to the sexy salesman to purple daddy Thanos. But which one of all the villains earns the title of Baddie of the Century? Today, I will be ranking Squid Game characters to see who is the worst of them all. We'll be starting with some gray area, still really bad characters first, and then move on to the big leagues. So let's start off with an angel in disguise, Kang Se-byuk, player 067. Although player 67 ends up being a G and trusting Gi-hun. She does rob the guy, smuggle a knife, and playing people like a puppet master. She even snuck into the bathroom air duct to know about the next game. She manages to survive for a major part of the 33rd Squid Game. Dies after getting stabbed by Sang-woo, so Se-byuk earns herself the 25th spot on our list. Park Yong-sik, player 007. In Season 2, this guy has a similar vibe as the player before. He ends up in the deadly games because of his gambling habit, and soon discovers that his mother is also playing. He seems like a good guy, but when it comes to voting against continuing the games, he goes with Team O initially to get more money to pay off his debt. I mean, bro, your mom is literally there. That's kind of fricked if you'd ask me. Next up we got Min-soo, player 125. Min-soo is slightly more villainous than Park Yong-sik and is often seen panicking under pressure. He makes the list because he betrays Se-mi, although without any ill intent.
나랑 가자.
And also because he joins Thanos and Namgyu during one of the games. And believe me, those two will be way further down this list. Kang Dae-ho, player 388. Next comes Kang Dae-ho, a bit more evil than the other characters we have discussed so far. The former Marine appears very disciplined initially, but during the revolt, he abandons his task when he sees a dead body.
한탕은 어떻게 됐어요? 가져오고 있어요?
Which brings us to Lee Myung-gi, player 333. Remember Thanos lost his money in a cryptocurrency scam? Well, Mr. Midgecoin himself was behind it. Player 333 is a former YouTuber who promoted a scam coin by the name of Dalmatian, which caused both him and his followers losing everything they had. While appearing harmless initially, he eventually ends up stabbing Thanos when confronted in the bathrooms, which is why he makes the list. All the guys so far are in the gray zone, and they can all make the case for self-defense. But soon, that won't be an argument anymore. Choi Woo-seok. Next on the list is Mr. Kim's employee, Choi Woo-seok, who also joins Gi-hun and Hwang Jun-ho to find the location of the island where the deadly games are played. He is initially skeptical, and Mr. Kim tells him that they need to find the recruiter. After a while, he goes with Hwang to track the island as the next part of their plan. Which brings us to the real villains and crime daddies of the show, Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim may seem like a minor character, but his cold-blooded nature definitely earns him a spot on this list. He is a loan shark who doesn't forgive if the lenders don't pay his money. Song Gi-hun also owed money to Mr. Kim in Season 1, but in Season 2, he assists Gi-hun in tracking down the recruiter. But we all know that scene from the first episode of Season 1 was no bueno.
돈 있어. 정말? 근데 왜 독혔어? 아유 자식 기특하네. 아이고.
Han Mineo, player 212. When it comes to a character who truly knows how to survive in the deadly games, one of the lesser evil names in comparison to who we have on the list later on is Han Mineo. Player 212 is both manipulative and dishonest, and is always ready to do whatever it takes to survive. One of her most iconic moments comes during the bridge game when she takes down Deok-soo with her.
나 배신하면 죽는다고 했지. 모색해. 덕수야.
Kang No-yeol. Kang No-yeol is one of the Squid Game workers, which automatically puts her in the villain category. But to her credit, she does show some compassion, like when she refuses to let eliminated contestants have their organs harvested while they are still alive. Byung-gi, player 111. Next up on our list is Byung-gi, the former doctor who lost his license and went into financial ruin. His dark side quickly reveals itself during the games when he secretly strikes a deal with the masked men. Byung-gi agrees to harvest organs from deceased players so the guards can sell them on the black market. In return, he gets information about the upcoming games. While he doesn't hurt any of the other contestants directly, his willingness to to work with the staff makes him super sketchy. He's the ultimate gray area character, but not as evil as those who are next up on this list. Now let's move on to some really bad characters and work our way up to the most evil of them all. Cho Sang-woo, player 218. Cho Sang-woo starts off as Gi-hun's childhood friend and seems like a decent guy. But as the game progresses, he becomes more and more evil. From tricking Ellie in the marble game to straight up killing Se-byuk, Sang-woo's actions are definitely evil. Sang-woo earns himself the 15th spot on this list, but let me tell you, the top 10 will be crazy. Next up is Seon-yo, player 044. Let's now talk about one of the more bizarre characters in the show. Seon-yo claims to be a shaman and constantly talks about evil spirits. She also has no problem threatening her fellow players and praying for their deaths. Honestly, it's very confusing, but she made the cut in our list today. Captain Park. Next is Captain Park, who may not be competing for the prize money on the island, or the top spot on this list. He is one of Squid Game's most cold-blooded characters. He initially comes across as a kind, humble, and dependable fisherman who rescues Hwang Junho from the sea after Junho is shot by his brother, the frontman. For a while, he plays along with them and seems like an important and trustworthy ally, but his true colors eventually come to light when he is seen trying to sabotage their mission. Park tampers with the team's drones, disables Gi-hun's tooth tracking device, and even kills one of their team members after being caught sneaking around at night.
잠깐만! 당신 뭐야?
Player 278. This guy is basically Deok-su's right-hand man. He blindly follows Deok-su's orders and takes way too much pleasure in hurting others. He even has a lot of tongue game, but luckily, we didn't see this man in action. But when he loses the marble game to player 101 and it's his turn to face the consequences, he freaks out and runs away like a coward. Didn't avoid getting shot by the guards, though. Thanos, player 230. Just short of the top 10 is Thanos, in our 11th spot. A failed rapper who lost everything in a cryptocurrency scam and spends most of his time being cocky and obnoxious. He kills multiple people during red light, green light for literally no reason. There is no doubt about Thanos' evilness, and he is especially cruel to Myung-gi, the player responsible for his financial downfall. He takes every opportunity to humiliate and attack him, and eventually tries killing him in the bathroom, but ends up getting stabbed to death. But he gets a spot this high up on the list because of the cruelty he inflicted on player 333. And that brings us to the top 10, with none other than Thanos' homie, Nam-gyu, player 124. Another player who is cruel and deserves to be in this list is Nam-gyu. Some Squid Game villains keep a low profile to avoid too much attention, but Nam-gyu enjoys being in the spotlight and loves violence. He's basically Jongdae's evil twin. He's greedy, aggressive, and always ready to do bad things. This is why when a fight breaks out in the bathroom, Nam-gyu pulls a fork out of Thanos' body and stabs player 331. Nam-gyu is not even loyal to the people he calls friends. After Thanos dies, Nam-gyu is seen holding his cross necklace and cursing Thanos for treating him like an idiot. Kim Jongdae, player 100. Jongdae is one of those characters whose sole purpose of existence is to make everyone else's life miserable. He's constantly whining about how the game needs more death to increase the prize money, and every time he opens his mouth, you just know something terrible is about to happen. Player 100 is one of those who doesn't hesitate sacrificing others for his own gains, which makes him one of the most despicable Squid Game villains. In the 8th spot, we are getting serious with the Recruiter, also known as Daddy. Next up, we have the guy who doesn't get nearly enough hate. You might remember him as the smiling stranger who introduces people to the deadly games. It was the suit man who slapped Gi-hun in the face repeatedly during their little game of dakji. But it turns out he does way worse than that. The salesman spends his days preying on desperate, vulnerable people and convincing them to join the Squid Game. And his role doesn't end in season 1 because he reappears in season 2, and this return is even darker than the previous season. He tricks homeless people into choosing between bread and lottery tickets, only to crush the bread in front of them. All these incidents show that this man isn't just a recruiter for the horrifying games, but rather is someone who enjoys seeing others suffer. Oh Il-nam, player 001. You might not have expected him in Spot 7, but Oh Il-nam does seem like a genuine guy in the actual Squid Game. Although he was actually the mastermind behind the entire Korean Squid Game operation. Turns out he was bored and decided the best way to pass time was to create a death tournament. To his credit, he did let the players vote to leave after red light, green light, but that barely scratches the surface of who the guy actually was. He played with everyone's lives like they were pieces on a chessboard and smiled while doing it. Even worse, in my opinion, is Meathead, Jang Deok-soo, player 101. The in-house gangster and certified psychopath Jang Deok-soo. This guy kills people without batting an eye and smiles while doing it. He literally beats player 271 to death for daring to take a bite of the food he stole.
이봐요 정신 죽었어.
And you don't even want to know about his leadership style. Deok-soo forms alliances just to betray his friends the second it's convenient for him. But the gangster isn't so much of a gangster, and his cowardice shines brightest during the glass bridge game when he refuses to move forward and forces others to go first. But the real bad man of the show is Hwang In-ho, the frontman. Taking the 5th spot on this list of baddies is someone we see from up close in Season 2, the frontman. Hwang In-ho has got serious Darth Vader vibes, but without any justification for his actions. He's the one running the deadly game competition, making rules and fulfilling every sinister demand of the VIPs. What makes him even worse is that he used to be a player himself. He knows how brutal the games are and still decided, hey, maybe I'll double down on evil and start running things. Oh, and did we mention he shot his own brother, Detective Jun-ho? Yeah, that happened because Jun-ho had humanity in him and reused In-ho's offer to join him running the show, which brings us to the final podium of the top 4, the VIPs. Lastly, we have the gold medalists of evil, the VIPs. Those creepy gold-masked rich guys are the worst of the worst because they bet on people's lives like it's the Kentucky Derby. They are basically a bunch of overgrown toddlers with too much money and zero morals. Not only do they treat the games as their personal reality TV show, but they also actively bet on who's gonna die next and enjoy seeing the contestants suffering in the deadly games. One of them even gets mad when player 69 dies in Season 1. Not because he feels bad, but because he lost a bet. And let's not forget the guy who sensually harasses a worker. Of all the VIPs, that fat guy should probably get the golden medal and #1 spot of the list. These guys are not even human at this point. They are just monsters behind fancy masks. Did you think my ranking was fair? Let me know below. And if you liked the video, make sure to watch another one on screen now.